Good afternoon, everyone. Are we set for this breakout class? I think we just need to have a view of our time because I know we have very short time. Okay, we have just about, let's see, this is 2 o'clock. We have about an hour for this session, so I guess we have just about 40 minutes remaining. The first thing I'd like to do is to understand where we're all coming from, because it's going to really help to situate what we need to learn. I'm meant to talk about effective data strategy. How do you envision and how do you implement? Because we talk a lot about we all need data, but how do you start and how do you build? And this is the soft side of data, and oftentimes the most important part of data. Because if you are not clear about what you want to achieve, you just realize that you have delved into the world of data and you are bringing nothing out. Companies will invest in infrastructure, they will invest in people, they will invest in data set, and they realize that they don't actually need what they're investing in. Or perhaps they're not even clear about what is called point of arrival. What's your point of arrival? What does success look like for you? It's always very important when you are developing your data strategy, your process of collecting data, your process of managing your data must be informed by a clear, long-range strategy around where do you want to arrive at. Because if you are not very clear, you end up having so much data, so much investment, and you realize that it's either that you don't need what you have invested in, or the fact that you are just chasing shadows. So as from a corporate perspective, it's extremely important that you know exactly what you are looking for, and you set clear strategy for your enterprise. And this is not only for big corporates, it's also for SMEs, startups, anyone who is keen about really applying data intelligently. Okay, good. So there are 4 things I will talk about in this 45 minutes. I will do an introduction of myself. The introduction of myself is actually part of the training, so that you understand the mindset of a business leader. So I will try and profile some of the things I do, because that puts a lot of my thought in context, so that you also know where I'm coming from. Second is you need to know the basics. We're going to spend time to understand the basics. I know we are all at different levels. Some are veterans, some are business decision makers, some are just starting, some are just data investors. So because of that, we might need to talk about the basics. And then when we're done with the basics, we spend more time on setting the agenda, the vision to implementation. And if we have time, we can each of you can bring out a paper and say what's next for you in terms of your vision to implementation. So see this session in 2 ways. See it as building data strategy for your company, or building data strategy, growth strategy for yourself. Are we together, guys? What is the take out of this session? 2 take out of this session. Number 1, I am developing a data roadmap, the starting point and the desired end point for my business. Number 2, I am developing a data development strategy, or data science or AI capacity strategy for myself. So I know my point of departure, I also know my point of arrival. Because if you do not frame that A to B, you might just find yourself in Z, Y, B all over the place, and you have lost track of your path. So and that's why this session will seek to achieve those two fundamentals. And that is why, for career perspective, that is why I'm going to do a little detailed introduction, because that can give you a view of the path you may want to take. Okay, good. So in terms of introduction, this is how I try to introduce myself. I am a computational social scientist. Now, that begins to give an idea. I'm not calling myself an AI engineer. I'm not calling myself a computer scientist. I'm a computational social scientist. I use computational power to understand social phenomenon. Buying, selling, consumption, whatever has to do with life, they are all social constructs. So how do I use data to explain it? So what am I trying to say? For those that want to find a career path, you must clearly define your space. So just to emphasize, this strategy session is looking at two things. Number one, we're looking at building data strategy for your company and building data strategy for yourself. Okay? If you don't mind, let me pull this. Building data strategy for yourself. So that's where I see myself, because a lot of work that I do is I use AI, data science, machine learning algorithm to understand all forms of social behaviors. And I will show you quite a lot of work that I've done. And I've been able to work with lead analytics for two largest telcos in Africa, the Yellow House and the Red House. And I enjoyed working for the two of them, leading analytics, okay? And I founded Data Science Nigeria and DSL. Yeah. So the first thing I want to say from a career perspective is you must move from data to revenue. Think money. Tell your neighbor, think money. Because it's not just in having data. This is perhaps one of the most fulfilling moments for my own career, where I was awarded for developing a solution that helps us to understand our customer better. What we call customer value and customer risk. Customer value says this person spends this money today. How much money can he spend in the next 5-10 years? So literally building a business plan for the then 50 million customers. That this customer, based on the last 5 years of spend, based on the places he has been to, based on the people he has called, this is the value of this customer. And when I'm talking about value of the customer in telco, it's not necessarily about how much call he made. It could also be the fact that this person had roamed in France, he had roamed in UAE, even though he only spends 1,000 naira a month. You understand what I'm saying? So you are not evaluating a customer just based on how much they spend. You are having a full view of their value. And that was what we did there. So think money as a data strategist in two ways. Number one, when you are building a data strategy for your organization, you are asking, how does this create value for my company? Because a lot of us get overwhelmed with nice ideas that cannot be monetized or cannot be quantified in terms of return on investment. Because we are going to do this, will lead to that. I hope this is very clear. So both for company and for yourself. So this is very important for me. The second one is also turn data to solutions. It's great to work in the industry. I also had the privilege of stepping out of the industry to go get my PhD at the University of London, and I came back to work. Not everybody would like to do that. Not everybody. But for me, it was about the fact that I was getting to a point that nice idea, nice model requires a lot of theoretical framing. And I didn't just go there to go and just have fun, but also to build a product that could have a patent on. And this is a product that looks at the calling networks of people, social network, that if I pick a person, all the calls coming to you, all the calls departing from you, how can I use it as a basis for monetizing you? Does that sound? And the same is applicable in money. Who are sending money to you? What is the value of the people in your network? So we call it that network analysis. This customer who spend 50 naira has people who spend 50,000 naira connected to this person. So we're talking about a grandma somewhere in Asia or in Jebo in Abeokuta who is connected to influential people. Sons, daughters who are calling her. So she is low spender, but she's an integral part of your node and energies. Such a customer must be kept within your network because that customer can move everybody away. Are we together, guys? So you begin to look at value, and that was the model I built, and it was quite exciting, and it got that you expected. Okay? Of course, they spoke about cargo today. How many of you are on cargo? Please be a cargler. Because the true value of a data scientist is not just that you are doing data science in your little room, in your company. It's the fact that you are competing with everybody globally. That is the proof that you are indeed, you are worth your gold. I do quite a lot of that. Sometimes I win, sometimes I don't win, but I don't care. What's important is that I am learning, and I'm not saying because I'm a C-level executive, I won't put my, I must be hands-on. So I'm not waiting for somebody to come and build a model for me. Build your model, I build my model, and compare our model. And that for me is what makes it's quite important to note. Okay, good. And I like to do a lot of research, which means I do a lot of paper publications. By next week, I'll be at New Leaves, the World #1 AI conference, where I'll be speaking. Quite a lot of academic research. So it may not apply to you. But the point I'm making is understand all the frontiers and begin to say from a career perspective, which side do I want to play? Apply it in industry, build a solution, build a product, or do research. So you can be in any of those domains. The choice is yours. Are we together? Good. Of course, this is perhaps the most exciting project I've ever done. And I love it. Which is applying data for national development. Something happened during COVID that many Nigerians are not aware of, but some newspapers reported it. When COVID started, there was a problem of contact tracing in Nigeria because we don't have people on, only 10-15% on smartphones. So those are the people that could be tracked. But those on Palasa phones, how could you track lockdown effectiveness? Especially because there was no data in the country that allowed us to understand mobility patterns. The only organization that had those kind of data were the telcos, or maybe the Googles. Google can say how many people are, and that's why they're able to predict traffic pattern, because they are picking signals from several devices. And wherever the devices are concentrated, they make it right. Yes, that's what happened. Because they can see, it's not as if there's anything anywhere. It is the signals from the device. And that's why a case happened. Was in Germany, a guy who created a scene. So he just took about, I think, 50 smartphones, and he kept it on the road. You understand? And he picked it as if there was traffic, and he colored it as red. Because that is actually how it works. So the question was, how do we help the government to understand the clusters, the risk, and all that? So the only data we could, and of course, government also wanted to find a justifiable basis for palliative distribution, where the low income, where they going to, where the lockdown effective and all that. And we had to use data, mobility data. There we were talking about, just like my CIO, a very good friend of mine, spoke about. You're trying to dimension several data. Because as you are moving, you're talking to the base stations. And the base station is saying, number 08032 is seen around these locations. And based on that, we can understand how much distance you have made in a day. Because we know the first point you were found in the morning, and the farthest point you were seen in the day, and the place you return to. And most people are very predictable. Are we together, guys? And that was what we used. Now, I'm giving this context because it became a global case study that was published by GSMA. GSMA is the Global Association of Telecoms, published by Cambridge University as a world-class best practice on how to use data to solve problems. So these are kinds of problems that you can solve as a data practitioner. Does that make sense to you? Does that inspire you? Does it inspire you? If you are inspired, can I see your hand? Good. Okay, so I think I will stop from there and I'll just go straight into our starting point. Now, this is the first slide I'm going to share with you. AI or data will have impact on business. A study was done by McKinsey. You can see source is McKinsey. I respect McKinsey a lot. They did a study in 2021, and the study of 2021 in Nigeria will still be very current. I believe so. And we're talking about how can the adoption of AI or data impact on the business. And there are two frameworks that they saw. How it can decrease your cost, or how it can increase your revenue. And they were able to identify areas of possibility. Why am I starting with this? You cannot set a vision if you don't know what AI or data can do for your business. And if it does not stimulate you, you cannot make data investment. You cannot. If you do not have clarity that because we are using data, like the example I gave in my days at MTN, that we saw clearly we actually grew revenue by 1.5%, which is a big deal in my kind of industry. Because we are able to understand customer value and risk better. And for the cohort of customers who adopted our way of engagement, we saw increments in their spend to this degree. That is it. So if you are not very clear about what you are looking for, you will not even know whether your investment in data has added value or not. And it's not just in revenue, it will also be in cost reduction. For example, I'll give an example of some predictive intervention in telecoms. Sorry, a lot of my experience has been in telecoms. I spent 12 years in telecoms before I moved fully into AI consulting. So that will be my bet. But you can apply it in all industry. Now, we observe that whenever it rains, or there is a problem with a network in a particular location, the call volume that comes to our call center will almost like triple. And the whole call center will be overwhelmed. And of course, the cost of managing call center is a lot. You also want to reduce your cost of managing several people picking calls. So can you anticipate the problem that will happen based on weather forecast, based on the fact that if this cable breaks down, why not just send a message to all the customers in that area and let them be aware that, oh, data quality in your area is bad, we are working to fix it. And Nigeria, we are very forgiving. If you can tell me on time. It's when I do not know what is happening that we are all agitated. What's happening? But when we know, because we are also a multi-SIM market. Multi-SIM because, we all have to be same. Am I right? So there's always a way to say I have a secondary alternative. And because you know what is happening, you feel very comfortable that, okay, I know what is happening. And because we were able to do that, we reduced the volume of calls to the call center by almost 60% during crisis time. And what that means is that we do not need too many people. So cost of managing call center went down. And customer satisfaction also went up because people know. Service operation, manufacturing, HR, marketing and sales, risk, supply chain management, product or services, strategy, corporate finance, and all of that. What is it that you want to use data to achieve in your organization? What revenue take up? What area do you think data can help you to reduce your costs? You must be very clear. When you are very clear about what you are looking for, then you can your my market. Show me that more houses. For example, there's a current project we're working on, which requires us to understand it is not this is actually about health, immunization distribution in Nigeria. And there's a data they've been using for many years to map houses. Now, we came in and said, no, there is something called satellite images and satellite data. I can understand the spatio-temporal evolution of every community in Nigeria. What does that mean? It's all big words, spatio-temporal. Spatio is from the word space. Temporal. How does things change with time? Now, if you take image of 2020, you will see that more houses have emerged. So there is a database of most databases where the entire image of the world is taken from the satellite imagery. So which means that I can use what we call computer vision to say have a retailer there or something there, we discover that there are more people. And of course, the person who has gone there once will not go there again. We didn't see them. Or perhaps we do not actually have a full view of the population. Instead of going with 1,000 vaccine, we go with 5,000 vaccine. We don't return back. What happens? They throw it away. Are we together, guys? I'm trying to be very practical. The best out of my data strategy, I must be very clear on what I want to use data for. So if I know what I want to use data for, then I know exactly the kind of data. Okay, good. Now, I respect those guys. They do a good job. They prove that organizations that have proficiency in data are more likely to achieve above average profitability. Very believable. And confirm that when it comes to customer experience, as much as 3 out of 5 will have better customer experience. No, these are statistics that proves that indeed great data failures than success. We have seen more failures than success. You know, in the session we had, the gentleman from what's the name of this bank? EcoBank. I wanted to say Econet. Bluechip. They were lucky to have a good Bluechip, you know, because when you succeed, it can cover up for the failures. So a lot of data strategy have failed, and there are 5 common issues why they fail. 5 common issues why they fail. And while we apply this for company, I also apply it for you from your career perspective. The first thing is what we do for us. I can read for you Amazon data strategy. I have had privilege of working with them last year, their global data strategy team, AI team particularly. And there is a document that they've written what they want to use data to achieve. They got to a point to say that data-driven intelligence will grow our revenue by 200%. So if data is not driving our ability to create, analyze proposition, what they call hyper-personalization, and I'm sure you know what they call recommendation engine. When you go to Amazon to buy a book, and you buy a book called The Black Dog, as you're about signing out, something pops up and tells you, oh, people who bought The Black Dog also bought the dog are better than White Dog. Or Black Dog. They are making you buy what you never planned to buy. But of course, you found value in it. That's why you call it. To understand that what is the best image, the best visual, the best place people will click. People like you, maybe you are more text-oriented, you are image-oriented. very, very important that you set a strategy and data vision. What will data mean to your company? Because one of the second reason why data strategy fails is what we call data silos. And what is data silos? Mr. A collects data, he keeps it under the shelf. Nobody must see it. Customer complain that our product is not doing well. People who bought Maggie and this were not happy. The guy has the information, but he will keep it. The guys on the field don't have that information. The guys that are manufacturing don't have the information. But there's a guy who has the information and he keeps it under the shelf. Why is he keeping it there? Who can tell me? Why? Why? Eh? He wants to take glory, yeah, that's good. Eh? To cover our mistake, okay, good. Any other thing? Okay. That, no, those are very valid. Job security, okay, good. But interestingly, it's actually power. I know why we're not selling now. People are not happy about this. But why can't that data be distributed? You remember something that Kazim said? Distributed. Kazim mentioned that at this time. That is what drives a company. Guys are on the field selling. Intelligence system says competitors have reduced their price 5%. So you are telling the guys on the field that we're already what is happening. They just go to stores and they see that, oh, people are not demanding for our product. Our shelf is still what it's been in most of the supermarket. But somebody has picked the intelligence. And the intelligence go to the guys on the street. I'll tell you one thing we do in telco. There's something called dynamic tariffing. I'm glad I've seen one of my ex-colleagues in IS. So he can also explain to you. What I worked with, you are the guy that works. There's something called in telco, like hotel, is what we call yield management business. Yield business. If you do not, or airline business, if you do not use that asset, that period, it's gone forever. So if I run these hotels and I have 160 room, if by 11 p.m. in the night, I cannot transfer it to another. Mind you, my cost of operation is constant. So for us in telco, our base stations are running on diesel, whether people call or not. So can I create a dynamic tariffing system that ensures that I'm able to say, people in this area, do you know you can call 1 naira per minute? Whatever I make is a profit because it's a money that I would not have made. And that is why data cannot be in silo. Data must be distributed so that all the units of the organization can get to know. And that speaks to number 3, accessibility and visibility. Everybody have a view of what is happening in the organization. Any organization where you are working and is only 1 or 2 giants who understand data, who knows how to use data, then you are in for trouble. You must have a data culture. Where even from the cleaner, there's an understanding that when I was going home, when I went to the market, people are complaining that our network is not working well. And that cleaner can come back on Monday and report it into a system. And that, because you are creating a culture where everybody is aware. The one to discuss so passionately, and she has a way of communicating it. You must create, and that is largely driven by data culture. data. This data do we actually need to address the problem we want to solve? Not all data are important. Not all data are important. But which are the most important data set that you need to solve a problem? Oftentimes we chase data that we do not need to solve problems that do not exist. Yes. I see a lot of companies who do that. Especially in fast consumer goods. In the last 1 year, I've done consulting for a lot of them. Because everybody is talking about hype, go and collect social media data. How many people are buying your product via e-commerce that you're spending dollars collecting e-commerce transaction data? People are buying your product for a market. How much intelligence? What is the latest brand Imagine Ojuwe market today? What is your price arbitrage today? You don't have all of that. All you have is what people are saying on social media. Your real market is on the street, and you are collecting data in the wrong place. Last but not the least is we have data, but we're not using it. The same way, you have the information about what AI can do for you, but you are not using it. You are not making that step. A fantastic way to start. And if that is complex for you, data visualization is very simple. Visualization, it will take you to court and win. I mean, they would do with that. I'm talking about people, friends that I know who are lawyers, who build fantastic dashboard. So you can start from somewhere. You can do something. I'm challenging you, if you're not in this session as a lead for a company, developing a strategy, this is also a charge to you in terms of you building your data. And you are never too old to learn data. The same way they are never too old to learn English language. Because data literacy, like I said, language have you seen Gemini that was introduced by Google? Multimodal, generate everything. The future is digital. You just have to get into this thing, no matter what it's going to take. If it means that you're going to take some time off to learn, this is the time to learn. And I tell you, everyone is welcome. Everyone can learn data. I've been in this game both in training and capacity building, and I've seen people who did law, sociology. I had a tech lead who worked with me closely who did psychology. Yeah, very fantastic guy. Very wonderful guy. But he knew clearly that data would shape the future, and he gave himself to it, and he learned it, and he became a technology lead, building data solution for global organization, not local organization. And he did psychology. And you read maths and statistics, and you have forgotten your standard deviation. It's time to go back. It's time to go back. We are recalibrating at this session. Good. So I won't bore with so many things. I think I will just before we go into how to do your data strategy. Experts who say that in as much as we talk about Brownian motion, and that it can be unpredictable, it can be all over the place, that people are more predictable than particles. And I subscribe very strongly to this, based on a lot of work that I've done. We all talk the same way, we think the same way, we talk the same way. If you are driving in traffic, we can almost predict where you're going to be. They say, where is Tayo? I will be in this location by this time. It doesn't have anywhere to go. That's where it goes. Ordinary person who can build a model about your life, how much more a machine? So people are very, very predictable. And that is the fundamental core of why you can develop a data strategy. The market is predictable. Opportunities are predictable. Risks are predictable. If it is clear to me that these, just about 3 days ago, we're working with an organization that we are building for them predictive maintenance. And we're asking questions. We don't know when this thing will get bad. It will just get bad, and before you get people that will go and fix it, it's going to take a lot of time. So we just say, can we look at the data? You have this number of ACs, number of days. Which one always go forward? Simple logical model. We can almost predict when this AC is likely going to go. And then we saw weather forecast, usage, day of the week. There are few indicators. And we're able to say, if you're able to map all of these, then we know what to do. So, Mr. Tayo, prepare yourself. 8 ACs are coming to go fix them. That is the power of precision. A lot of things are predictable. Opportunities are predictable. Risks are predictable. Behaviors are predictable. Are predictable. Therefore, my data strategy must build that sense of predictability. To this degree of certainty that X number of people, so that is extremely and what can you see? What can you see? So what do you call this? What do you call it? Unstructured. You are using big words. Which one is unstructured now? Which one is structured? Scattered. Okay, scattered. Scattered data. Okay. Is the last one also not scattered? So what's the difference? This is all about what data strategy does for you. If you have a clear strategy, this is what it means. Number one, this is how data is plain vanilla. Male, female, byproduct, churn, staff stay, and all of that. This is how it all look like. The first thing you do to data is to bring some knowledge. You bring some color to it. What can I see some differentiation? Maybe male and female, customer in the north, customer in the south. We have what we call basic coloration, and that is the level of knowledge. And that's why I think we get started. 10 people bought yesterday, 5 people bought tomorrow. No, there's still a lot more. We have 1,000 customers, 5,000 left, 2,000 came. What you have just done is knowledge. But there is a level called experience where you now bring your domain knowledge into it. And what that does is that you're able to logically. Are you with me? Logically, not like the last time I was there, the last time people reported, we got this information, so you are bringing your experience into it. So the point I'm making is that data is as good as the experience that you bring into it. So you do not build a data strategy without asking about what is the level Down trading means that people who used to buy in bulk, they are now buying in small sachet. So if people are buying in small sachet, what does that mean to me? What does that mean to me? I need to start selling, build system that allows people to buy the way they can afford, because affordability has now become a critical basis for buying. So I am now adjusting and becoming creative in the use of data. So it's not just that we have data, it's that we know how to use data. And that was the point I was making, the difference between data literacy and data fluency. Many people are data literate. They speak all the language, the models, the algorithms, the buzzwords. They understand the literacy of data, but the fluency or the ability to apply data to solve real problems is missing. I understand the algorithm. I understand the regression, supervised, unsupervised. They will know the overfitting. They know all the terminologies. But how do I use that to drive my revenue by 2%? How do I use that to understand my new market? That is creativity. So it's not just the data itself, it's what you bring to the data. Because like somebody said, torture the data, it will tell you just what you want to hear, especially in Nigeria. So you need a creative approach to using data to address what is important for you. Are we together, guys? Good. So we're going to rush now into, I'm going to be very fast. Now, I like this image because, I've used it many times. What is this? Good. What is peculiar about it? What can you see? Huh? Patterns. Oh, who said patterns there? Please, can you clap for the guy? Patterns. Everything about data is all patterns. And those patterns, to you, they just look beautiful. But when you apply machines to understand those patterns, they may be exciting for you. So behind this, there is a pattern. So let's explore that pattern. This is the pattern. This, if you study it, this is the pattern. And that pattern, for mathematicians, they also discover that the evolution of this also has some mathematics there. So they saw that this will be equal to this will be equal to this will be equal to this and this equals to this and this equals to this and this equals to this. Mathematics. And there is a series built out of that. I just want to challenge you. So you can see the number. This and this, so the last two numbers summed up to the next number. You are familiar with arithmetic progression. 2, 5, 8, 11. We are all familiar. And then geometric progression, we are familiar with it. 2, 4, 8, when you multiply. It's the same logic, but the principle that explains the pattern is not linear. And that's one of the things you see as you engage data. Data is not linear. People that you give, customers that you incentivize, are perhaps those that will go to competition. It's not linear. I'm being very frank with you. It's not linear, even though it's predictable. And that's what led to a series. Yeah, who knows the series? Please clap. Can you clap for? It's called Fibonacci. And the point I'm making, and that is what your data strategy is all about. Your data strategy is all about, I get data, I find the patterns in the data, I use that to build a model. What is a model? Model is a summarization of peculiar insight within this data that brings it all together. It's like your equation. Y is equal to 500x plus 200y. That's what we call model. If I apply this model on a new data, I can use it to explain what is in that data because I've studied it as pattern in another data. And that's what it's all about. So because of our time, I'm going to jump straight away because I don't have time. I have some very funny slide here, but I don't have time on how to build your data strategy. But I'm going to go straight to, yes, I'm going to use this. Yeah, I'll stay here. So, if you want to build your data strategy, the slide will be made available, and of course, the team from Bluechip will be available to also support businesses that want to do this. Be very clear about the decision that you want to support when you want to build data. Is it customer experience decision, customer migration, customer expansion, market growth? Be very clear about the decision you want to support. And be very clear about the features. Features are like the type of data or variables that you require to solve that problem. You cannot use a drug that is meant for tummy pain for headache. So you must be very clear about your features. And then, value proposition changes it. What will the customer or the business get out of this effort? Because oftentimes we're so detached from reality that we build an amazing data strategy that is not speaking to what makes sense. Are we together, guys? You just get some nice guys who talk in codes into the room, and they are building an algorithm that is not working in real world. So the question is, because we understand these, what will it mean to customer? Customer must not spend more than 10 minutes searching for anything on our page. Customer must not do this before they do that. You are very clear. What is the proposition? What is the superior advantage that a customer gets as a result of your ability to bring a decision system that is supported by nice features? This is how you build data strategy. Are we together, guys? Does it make sense to somebody here? Good. And then, what is your data logistics? What is your data? How do you get the data? How do you clean the data? How do you inject the data? You know, I remember when you talk about ingestion. Somebody said, what about data digestion? How do we bring the data in? What is the data pipeline? What is the data workflow? Must the data be clean? Like the gentleman I was talking to, the data be structured? Structured means it comes in zeros and ones, or should it be unstructured? Interesting. There's some project we are working on. I have one of my colleagues here, Teju, where we're looking at calls made to call center, and we are analyzing the calls to the call center based on mentions of certain keywords. Those who are calling are just money failed. I took this brand, it failed, and I'm talking. We're creating what failed, what worked, how many times did you use it? So we have created tables of all the possible things that could come out of the conversation. We're translating call center conversation, which is actually unstructured, into structure. So I'm challenging you to know that a lot of things are extremely possible with that anything can happen. And then I'll leave model development to the I'll talk about around the key metrics and the context. These are very important. Set key metrics for your strategy, because we have implemented this. What are the key drivers of our business? There are three things in commercial business. If you want to get your board member to listen to you, there are three things. Revenue growth, we are doing 75 million US dollars. We are going to move to 78. What is your revenue growth? Number two is cost reduction. We're going to reduce our cost. Cost of finding the customer, cost of meeting the customer. And the third one is operational efficiency. Because we are using AI data, we can speedily respond to customer faster than competition. And this is how you build your data strategy. So I'm going to just conclude, guys. It is very possible for you to have a clear data strategy for your company. Don't just jump into data without having a clear idea of what you want to achieve. Bluechip is there to support you to articulate your strategy and know exactly what you want. And if you have a boss who knows that it can be done and just go and buy Oracle, go and buy it, sometimes just like our friend from EcoBank said, you tend to waste money. Get the right expert. The number two, your career path as well. It is not, I tell people, it's not great programs that make great people. It's great decisions. What decision are you making out of Bluechip AI Summit 2023? I decided that in 1 year I'm going to be a data scientist. be a machine learning engineer. I'm going to build my first Power BI dashboard. I'm going to go read about data literacy 101. I'm going to advance my data passion. Set an objective for yourself. And I tell you, you will always get something out of it. So I'm going to stop there because I've been asked to stop. Thank you very much. Opportunity for questions. Okay, one question. So I don't know who to call. So I'll leave that to you. Because I'll be biased. So
Thank you very much for the session. I found it very enlightening. I just want to ask for the career, since you mentioned, I am currently studying medicine, and you mentioned that studying psychology and playing in data space. I don't want to be a data scientist, but I understand the importance of data and the importance of data in building like corporations and scaling health.
school, who knows school? You can say there's a school. Is it? You can scan the program. Most likely, what you're going to get is a no-code AI type thing. Though I have a lot of medical doctors who do a lot of coding now. I mean, serious coding. And it's not very tough anyway. But I tell you, when it comes to use cases, there's a lot of use cases in your side. Either analyzing images, system to analyze radiological image. So what does that mean? Image, maybe a scan of any part of the body, put it in a chat room, and it tells you everything that is there. Because it has been trained on several other images that says, if it looks dark in this area, is it trained? It's able to say that what I'm seeing is this. And what does that mean? We need less people running around. Data system will run that first. But no fundamental AI type thing. No code means you don't need to code, but you understand the fundamentals. And also take your statistic very serious. I know a lot of medical doctors about that. Maybe we take the AI so that we just create a balance of power. Yeah.
All right, good afternoon. My name is Iwinosa, and I'm a data analyst. All right, so recently I've been concerned about the use of data ethics, policies, and culture. And I realized that we do not take cognizance of that particular area. So I want to find out, because your sessions, I really keep point about data ethics, because it's actually a company can be used for things.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. I think thank you is actually on my slide, but because of time, we couldn't talk about it. Is this code by Spider-Man? With great power also comes great responsibility. The ability to use the most accountable to ensure not biased, not your personal, the fact that you respect the people you are playing with. You want to go out, you want to buy and on the street that's being used to what data says, and I tell you, it's one of the areas we are not even aware of as potential. A lot of laws like my right, which will be electronic medical of that policy perfectly aligned with your vision, who cannot code, as thank you very much for your time. That basically, there's a lot of money in data. I think I share my experience. A lot of money build yourself, build, and the money will come. It shouldn't be just happen naturally. Be driven by and that brother is.
Thank you very much. Yes, the movie in is services and managed services. Yeah. No.
Stage. But like I was saying, it's not enough anymore. It's not anymore. Nigerians, we are Oliver Twist now. When we ask for something, we get it. Then we ask for more, right? So that's data driven. The aspiration now is to become analytical driven or analytics driven. Analytics driven is making strategic decisions with all relevant data and unbiased predictions using modern immersive technologies, right? That's what it is. That's what we're aspiring for. That's where, according to some industry analysts, we should be by the end of 2023 actually. We should have become analytic driven as an organization, as a country, and all of that. But there is more, right? We should also aspire to become analytics mastery, and that's the definition for us. So it's not just for immediate decision by maybe key decision makers. Analytical mastery is a cultural shift towards analytics literacy. We read about that earlier, right, from the GT Bankman. Data literate. You need to become data fluent, yeah? So data fluency is when judgment or inclination, but because it's what will give you the best outcome. And that you can only achieve with analytics. And not just for decision makers, but for everybody, for a society, whether a business, whether a country, to become analytic master. Okay, so I mentioned somewhere along the line that sometimes we are not all at the same point in terms of technology adoption or technology requirements, right? Example is telling us that typically HR, for those of us that are into coding and all of that, what you typically start with is your basic HR application. Very standard. The process is very clear. salary, standard is very clear now. In terms of processes. So it's possible in an organization that HR is at the point of aiming for analytic mastery. Meanwhile, finance may still be struggling. They just want to be data-driven. Because you have to be data-driven, analytic, what's the other one? Analytic before you become analytic mastery. So our solution, that's the Oracle Analytics, which is available everywhere, anywhere, is able to meet organizations at their particular points, at their particular pain points. And that's what, remember, our solution is converged. You don't need to acquire a particular solution for a particular need. It's able to serve all of the requirements of any organization. So here where each group can define its own custom path and timeline. Yeah. So if there's investment in Oracle Analytics, you can deploy as on need basis. Separate tools solve wide changes. You can converge, right? And everybody gets to the ultimate destination. And it's a single platform that is able to meet data-driven. Operation is analytic mastery. I mean, it's just like a highway. Everybody going on their own lane at their own pace. No problem. How am I doing for time? Okay. So, this is Oracle Analytics, right? And it's the only platform available in the market that is report-driven, data-driven, mastery in one investment. It's important, for those of us that are still in school, you need to watch out for this. These are invaluable contribution you can bring to wherever you find yourself, in terms of technology tools that your future or current organization will be adopting. There are so many solutions out there, but the reason Oracle remains number one for enterprise solution is because our solutions are always comprehensive. And it's a fact. It's not because I work for Oracle. You can check it as you go along. In your future so deliver business transformation with Oracle Analytics. These are the benefits we bring to reduce analytics complexity and meet expectation, even with ever-shifting decision time frames. Remember, this was a challenge. So basically what this slide is saying to us is that we knock off each of those challenges with Oracle Analytics. Through control, self-service, remember I talked about data silos, different data everywhere. Oracle Analytics is able to deliver on that promise, right? By removing the need to download data exports with built-in data preparation. So yeah, this was what I was looking for. Data enrichment, right? So data enrichment is the word I was looking for before that I couldn't remember. Data enrichment. Data enrichment is when you have data sets here, and there are connection between the data here and there. Oracle Analytics is able to bring out those connections and bring out outliers for you automatically. We call it AutoML, that is automatic machine learning. It's an inbuilt algorithm that helps bring out outliers, things that are off, that are not in tandem with the regular pattern of any data sets. That's one. The other stuff I was actually trying to remember, that is data arrangement. So let's say we have employee information here, we have procurement records here. In an organization, of course, all of those data sets are connected to that organization, right? Is it about the employee or assets of the employee? Assets records here. Oracle Analytics is able to connect and enrich employee, for instance, with all the procurements about him, even though his data set sitting elsewhere, if you implement our solution and tell you, okay, my name is Moshood Banks, I've ordered or procured laptops, I have phone, I have desktop, he's able to bring all of that. He's able to go into the maybe finance records and say I've made so much, what was it now? Maybe payment voucher, or I've made so much money for the organization. And he's able to give you that complete record across different data silos for an entity. Isn't that amazing? Sorry? Yeah, so that is data enrichment. We are the only one provider that is able to do that most efficiently in the markets today. Don't take it out. By with lower predictable total costs. Yeah. So let me disabuse our minds here. So traditionally, we weren't for the small boys. Because they are enterprise, they were usually for people with deep pockets. But because service is about giving back to the community, we have options models that makes even students can make use of our technologies for now, right now, right? And I'll share some links where you can go play out and see some of these things we are preaching for yourself. I think maybe, is it the end of the year? So let's talk about some use cases. So that's the presentation in itself, right? We just talk about some use cases where we've been able to use Oracle Analytics to bring value to businesses. Can you help me, please? Okay. So let's talk about financial fraud risk. This is a very important use case, right? I'm sure we all have bank accounts, and our bankers do a lot of back-end activities to ensure our funds are safe and secure, right? Okay. So what do we mean by mitigating fraud? So these are strategies to control the occurrence and impact of fraudulent activities like unauthorized transaction or deceptive practices against accounts in the trust of financial institution. Why is this important? It is important because it helps to protect the institution assets, maintain the trust of customers and investors, and ensure regulatory compliance and minimize financial loss. This use case is important because it helps to achieve these very fundamental requirements of using the banking system. What is the overall goal? Overall goal is to prevent activities by analyzing data patterns, and identifying anomalies or indicators that are commonly associated with fraud. Remember, I was able to say to us earlier on that we have outliers, AutoML, embedded in our analytics machine that is able to, automatically push out information for things that are not. So these are typical processes within the financial institution. Do we have bankers here? Okay. So these are terms you must be familiar with, right? Customer impact, false positive rates, fraud detection rates. These are terms, these are processes that are important to the financial institutions. And these are the things that Oracle Analytics can help you to automate such that you don't suffer financial loss. So how does this work? Let's look at this framework. We have various data sources, transactional database from structured applications, historical fraud data database. Banks always keep that. Cardholder information. We all have our cards, right? This database somewhere. And of course, the external consulting or machine social network analysis, all of those. There are all those data sources. This is a platform right there in the middle. So there's, we're not talking about that, but our database is autonomous, can be autonomous, right? Fraud prediction, machine learning model. Those are standard algorithms that you can deploy off the Oracle Analytics platform, right? Cloud analytics. Analytics is that tool that helps you to bring out that information and report it to you. I talked about spatial, geographical. I think one common one that I can use to describe this is, if for instance you use your card, if your location is Lagos, Nigeria, and you just do a transaction here now, and someone is trying to use the same card in maybe Abeokuta. If you are using our system, it will not allow that transaction because it's not normally possible for you to use that physical instrument at this point now, and at the same time is occurring at a distance like Abeokuta. Those are intelligence that our system is able to implement to help organizations, to help prevent fraud within here. So vision, we have optional AI services, sentiment analysis, speech analysis. Yeah, they talked about generative AI, right? It's not everything that you have to code anymore. As consumers, technology is pushing us to get to a point where by words of mouth, instruction, you're able to get service, or you're able to use your service as well, and all of that. And then we have the consumption, web and mobile, anybody, any tool, technology to consume the service, produced by the analytics engine. You're free to do that. And these are the people that can consume the service: data scientists, fraud analysts, so on and so on. So this is what the architectural layout looks like. Data discovery, business records, first-party data, credit card. This is basically putting it in architectural format for our consumption, right? It's basically the same thing. So we're able to connect, ingest, and transform automatically. So from any source, we're able to take data into the Oracle data store using, so you know there are various types of model. You want to do bulk inserts, you want to do batch processing. Some systems are able to do batch, they can't do bulk. Some people are able to do delta changes, transactional data. Oracle analytics, we have products. So it's the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure Fast Connect, OCI data transfer for bulk transfer, that is at initial takeoff. You have data all over. You have big data in the cloud. You have a whole archival store where you have physical files. We're able to scan it into digital format and take everything in bulk into a digital format, into a data store, right? You want to do batch ingestion. So you are taking on a new organization. You are buying over a new organization. You need to consolidate the data. We're able to do that with data integration, Oracle Data Integrator, and other DB tools. Change, incremental data, with Golden Gates and Oracle Data Integrator. And of course, like some of us are doing here, we are streaming. Some of us, I guess, are streaming this event. You're able to take all of this data into consolidate data store, to do all of the I'll take the cloud, don't worry.
Great, but it's like I'm a slow learner, so most of the things you have been saying are not quite clear. The reason being that it's a bit theoretical. They are not practical based. But, sir, I want to pose a question to you which look practical. Then, from your experience. I want a practical solution. And how to go about this? God will help you, sir. So my question is this, sir.
Okay.
Now, I have a project titled Dynamic Personalization in E-commerce, Leveraging Machine Learning and Data Engineering for Enhanced User Experience and Sales Optimization. Now,
Let's listen to him. Yeah.
you work as a software engineer at Oracle. I believe Oracle is a cloud-based platform. So, this type of project now, I want to use this to solve a particular problem, which is a sales optimization project. Now, I want to go into this type of project. Tell us, sir, how do we go about this? So, with the knowledge you have been able to pass across now, let's have a practical overview of this type of situation and then how we can deploy this solution, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So, one clarification, right? We are not just a cloud platform. We are on-prem and cloud. I just need to make that clarification. Oracle has been around for over 40 years. We're a major enterprise player. So we just don't play in the cloud portfolio. But your question, I think, funny enough, your question is actually similar to what I'm describing right here. It's a use case, isn't it? And I think I'm writing how we use modern data platform for fraud detection in the financial service industry. So it sounds to me like you want me to do another use case for how to use sales improvements. Is it not? Are they not similar? They are not similar. Okay. So I have another use case that will address how to optimize sales and personalize. So let me just follow. We'll get to how Oracle Analytics is able to help in the retail industry, which I think is what you're basically talking about, right? Sales. So embedded no code. So why is Oracle Modern Data Platform preferred for financial fraud detection? Embedded no code. So with our flagship product, the Oracle database, which stores data that we are talking about, right? It has embedded no code machine learning. No code. You don't need to be a programmer to be able to use these tools to be able to generate some insights, right? Built-in last mile data preparation. We talk about how you take in data. If you're not able to take in data, how can you generate intelligence or insight from it? It's a major problem for players in that industry. And a unified data analytics platform, yeah? So I'll just skip, they're telling me my time is almost up. So I'll skip to the retail store that speaks to and maybe again, so there's a use case for this. I'll skip this. Can you just move on to retail? So let's move to, because we don't have time. Yeah, oh no, just back. So this is similar to, do you agree that this speaks to your question? And I'm just going to talk because we don't have a computer to to code it here, Abby. So it's just going to be talk. I'll give you links where we can go and try answer if you want to, some of this at the end of the day. So business use case, supply chain framework. Please one, okay. So what do we mean? What do we mean by retail supply chain? Typically for identifying what to buy, then procuring and delivering products from suppliers or. Are you still with me? Please. What is important? So this is important because it enables sellers, minimize stock out, customer experience. Right? For all the consumers, once we're able to get the quality, so that at the end of the day, you can say we provide very good user or customer experience. That is why it is important, correct? And because once there's customer satisfaction, probability is there for the business to do well and profit. Makes sense. What is the overall goal? The overall goal with analytics, with Oracle Analytics, is to efficiently to coordinate and ensure that at the right time, in the right locations, to maximize sales and No. I want to. So you know you're doing. Please go back. Yeah, these are important terms in retail business. And I can attest to the fact that these are important processes that the investor wants to be able to draw analytics from. Or definitely, please, one stock out rate where like that. This is to achieve efficient data analytics or analysis on those processes on the previous slide, right? Be able to identify your data sources. You need to be able to run your analytics service to draw insights and make recommendations. That quality you need to be able to generate outputs based on these analytics or analysis that you will have done on data that you have ingested. Right? For you to end it, this is a framework, architectural framework that needs to be implemented. Data sources, not speaking in concrete terms, in building any solution. These are the milestones you must achieve. Right? So I believe this is very, very clear and practical. But if it's not that way, down the first process and discovery, you need to be able to analyze business records, sales transactions, product, all of those information. Draw insights for you. Then create outcomes that you want. Then you also talking analytics. Once whatever you've built that give you to project you continue to improve on the model. So this is how a solution is built. So we'll take it outside of here then. But it's time, okay. I'll just move to, I don't know, are we able to share slides or share information? Yeah, so we sign up and explore, so is there, always free, always free. It's a link that gives you some resources, database, and other utilities that you can use to develop your own analytics. Develop, yeah. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
To our next session shortly, which is data engineering in the cloud, leveraging serverless by Mr. Damilare. Yes, yeah. And we also have going upstairs, which is Australia and
it looks like I have the unfortunate role of doing that today. So let's just get into it. Can anybody hear me? All right, good afternoon once again. My name is Damilari. I'm the Data and AI Business Solutions Lead at Microsoft. I'm so excited to be speaking on the topic that has revolutionized the field of data engineering profiles. In the next 2 minutes, I won't take too much time. In the next 2 minutes, I'll be through that topic, the things that I have achieved and to achieve today. Introducing you to the concept of data engineering on Azure, introduction to Azure Data Lake Storage, and then introduction to Azure Synapse Analytics as well. Back in the day, a lot has changed in the field of time when setting up infrastructure in the cloud, sort of was like walking through a maze, while being blindfolded. But then, a lot really has changed in that phase now. I mean, just, quick story that some of you may be aware of. Sometime last year or 2 years ago, I can't remember precisely, as a gentleman called David Adeleke. Many people here know him as Davido, right? Anybody that doesn't know who that is here? Okay, it looks like we all do. So, I mean, like I was saying, sometime like 2 years ago, traveled out to Dubai and then was having a really wild time with his friends, and then he just came on social media and said, "Yo, I've done so much for all you people. It's time for you to, like, show me in kind," something like that. And he puts his account number on social media. Who remembers that incident? Right. What many of you know from social media was that so many people around the world started to send him money. I think at the end of the day, he raised about 250 million naira, if I remember correctly. Thank you. But then what you may not know is what was happening behind the scenes, right? And what was happening behind the scenes was that a few years ago, a financial institution in Nigeria called Wema Bank had decided to put all of their and they had, created all of that, infrastructure, network, and security setup. It was quite revolutionary. Many other people have followed suit and are doing the same. But at the time that they did it, it was quite revolutionary. And why did I say that? Because Nigeria being a it in our environment and touch it so that we can say, "Oh, I'm spending all of this money and this is what I'm spending it on." But then this bank decided and said, "You know what? This is not what the world is doing." And they went and did all of that. The implication of what they were doing was that they didn't now need to manage storage size, security, networking, cooling, everything. They didn't have to manage that. All of that was now federated in cloud. And then that now means that, you can scale up and scale down. And that was really what happened, with that case with the never before in history of the bank had a transaction, or rather activities, in one day on one single account like that. And the infrastructure basically blew horizontally and vertically to the point that not a single downtime, and everybody was connecting and sending that money, and all of that happened. Of course, they were so impressed that they had to sign him as an ambassador. So you may not really appreciate the beauty of this story that I have just told, but then if you think about a few months ago when the CBN decided to do whatever they did with the Naira, and people could not, access the Naira, and the digital banking channels of most of your banks were down, and you had to pay, then you would really understand the opposite side of the story that I just told. Because again, when CBN came and they were trying to force people to adopt digital channels, and because of the pressure that happened on all of those channels, it now then meant that servers were down, productivity times was lost, people could not transact, everybody started to really go through hell during that period. So that is basically just giving you an idea, or rather a summary of what it means, to have your infrastructure on the cloud. So really, what is data engineering? Simply put, it's the process of collecting your data, processing your data, and storing your data, without having to manage the respective infrastructure that does this. I was saying earlier that before that bank incident, what many organizations used to do was to have all of their servers and storage and everything on ground, and they'll have to provision. If you wanted to deploy an application, you need to provision all of that. But right now, you don't really have to do any of that anymore. So I was just talking about just the basic concepts of data engineering, and we've said data engineering is a process of storing, collecting, processing all your data on the cloud, and these are all different kinds of data that you may have. Structured data, which are basically your data in rows and columns. So think about your tables. Semi-structured, data that are not strictly confined to the principles of your structured data, so like your XML and your JSON files. Unstructured data, everything else. So data from your PDF documents, data, telemetry data, data from social media fields, so all of these are your unstructured data. And then, the principles of data engineering, like I was saying, data operation. So integrating multiple sources of data. You're building an application, for example, you likely have to integrate with other applications, integrate different data sources, whether the data be on premises or in the cloud, transforming all of that data, because again, you'll have data from different sources, and data may or may not be clean. You want to make sure that it has the right governance structure, secure and everything, and consolidating the data into a unified repository so that you can now then perform whether it's analytics, machine learning, and what have you on that data. And then multiple languages as well, of course, SQL, Python, several others. Important data engineering concepts to note here: operational and analytical data. So think of your operational data as the heartbeat of the business, for want of a better word. So data coming from your everyday transactions, and what have you. Analytical data is like your historical scorecard. All of the data that have been collected over time, that you can now start to perform analysis, do drill down, the same data that you use for your machine learning modeling and what have you. Streaming data. Basically, this is the continuous flow of data that you need in real time. Right, so, telemetry data as an example, any data that you use that you need in real time to be collected, and then for actionable insights to be performed on, that is your streaming data. So your data pipeline, I mean, again, just like a pipeline, connections between different sources and what have you. So data coming from all of those sources for the purpose of, extraction, for transformation, collection, and what have you. Data lake, another, important concept of data engineering is like your store where all kinds of data can be stored, structured, semi-structured, unstructured data, and your data warehouse, basically for structured data. So data that has been transformed already and put in a particular format, for the purposes of performing insights on. And, Apache Spark, basically, your open source, processing for collecting, large tons of data, for the purpose of performing machine learning on top of it. So how does data engineering work on Azure? I mean, for those who may not know, Azure is the Microsoft Cloud. That is what it's called. So your operational data, just like I said earlier, which can come from multiple sources. Like, we've all been hearing data, the new oil. Now we are moving to a new paradigm where data is the new currency, right? And data being collected from everywhere, your smart watches, your mobile phones, and everything. So data coming from your unstructured and structured environment on premises, from the cloud, and all of that. And now connecting that into your data warehouse and your data lake for the purposes of extraction, transformation, and then what have you. And then it goes into your visualization layer. Microsoft visualization layer is the Power BI. Think of all of these different, these are individual services. And before, again, like I said earlier, what would happen is that you would need to set up and configure each service, the configuration, the IP, the storage, security for each of these services. But then adopting now you to manage everything once. And Microsoft even does this in a simplified version with the rollout of the Microsoft Fabric, which is an enterprise analytics platform that was recently launched, which basically helps not just the data engineering partner, but the data science and business analysts, as well as the end users, to all collaborate on one single platform, and then now perform each of their important here, because what is data without the storage, right? So a lot of the data that we've collected is going to be stored somewhere. So we are here talking about the Azure Data Lake storage, Gen 2, which is a high performance storage that stores all kinds of data. When I say all kinds, I mean whether it's your structured or your unstructured data type for the purpose of storage and your blob storage. Blob storage, basically, again, if you need capacity for storage, large amounts of storage, you go to your blob storage, and then, data lake storage is specifically for the purpose of analytics. What is the Azure Synapse Analytics? So, basically, this is what we refer to as the unified cloud platform for analytics. It helps you with your data processing, transformation, warehouse and the stratosphere of data engineering, and then now move to data science, and then it helps, with your advanced analytics, real-time analytics. Talked about data as well. So working with files in your data lake, so basically here, you're connecting to your data lake storage, and then using your Azure Data Factory, which is on the data ingestion layer, and then putting your Azure Synapse Analytics on top of that for everything that I said earlier, which includes integration, analytics, mining, and then other things like that. And then of course, ingestion and transforming with your data with pipelines. So again, I'm taking to go through all of these, because these are different services that you will have to configure separately if you wanted to build end-to-end analytics layer. And that's really, how it happens with every cloud or even on-premises service. But then the importance of why, I'm talking about this is for you to now then see that with all of these individual services, you don't have to configure every thing manually, from scratch. So you're building a recommendation engine for your e-commerce platform, as an example. So as a data scientist, you've built that recommendation engine. So all you have to do is deploy, and the serverless services basically takes control of the rest. So whether you're doing a Black Friday sales, and then you're expecting multiple people to come on your platform, the system automatically scales up so that there are no downtime, and is able to hold capacity for all of the different buyers that you're expecting. Or on a quiet Sunday when you're not expecting so much, so it's also able to scale down so that you can now only pay for the services that you are consuming. And this is really different from the usual experiences that we would normally have with our on-premises infrastructure, which you have to buy servers, buy storage, wait for 6 or more weeks for the devices to be shipped to you, and then you now start configuring and doing all of that. So with your serverless instances, you're basically deploying and then just using the services that you use, and you don't even have to bother about configuring, and then you can only pay per time, whether you have large capacity or really limited capacity. The end of my presentation now. So analyzing this with Apache is open source. So basically, you have scalability embedded into it. Common libraries, multiple programming languages, just like I showed earlier, are supported. Integrated, notebook experience, and all of this is built into your Microsoft, Azure platform. So to conclude my presentation today, I just want to wrap up by saying that a lot has happened from a few years ago, where as a data scientist, working in a small organization, you need to now then learn data engineering, learn business analysis, learn, different things. When, you really want to be focused on your core work, which is the data science part. And then what, serverless does, and by the way, serverless does not mean that there are no servers, involved. It just basically means that the whole process of configuration has been abstracted from the entire process, so that you can now focus on the core part of your work, which is building applications, building models, and then the system takes care of the rest. So that really is the end of my presentation. Let me know if there are any questions. Okay.
Thank you very much for the presentation.
You're
My
welcome.
question is simple. I mean, as in, it's brief. So when we look at the overall essence of this data stuff, is just to provide solution to things. So I'm now looking at, if you have a project, you understand, with problems and you want to provide solution, what is the best approach in sourcing for your data? Is it via interview or all sort of things like that? What's the best approach? That's my question.
Okay. All right. So it depends on what you're trying to achieve, for example, and you must also know the principles of the collection, according to, not me, according to the the Nigerian or national, I can't remember which one, Data Protection Commission, is that you should only collect the data that you need, right? So the idea of arbitrary collecting data is not, really what the legislation of Nigeria agrees with. But then, going into the exact meat of your question, which is how do you collect that data? It's again, it depends. If what industry are you talking about as an example? Like in the construction. So say what is the you want to do like a automate the quantity surveying process. I'm just thinking wildly here, and then you now want to, based on the different data that you have collected, be able to predict how much gravel, granite that you need to erect a 2-story building that has a basement, as an example. So the kind of data that you will really need is the geological data, the data from similar buildings that have been erected in that area, so things like that. So how do you now then collect the data? Most people will go and then do surveys. They'll do questionnaires. They will ask people to collect that data, or they will build from ground up, which is that if they are in the business of building, then they use the data that they themselves have collected over time. I mean, it can be anything from a short period to a long period, based on what particular use case. Take, for example, the matter of ChatGPT, which I believe that most people in this room are familiar with, and that is really revolutionized the communications, not communications industry, but the way that we communicate, generally, and is also worthy of note because it's a Microsoft project, true and true. All of the data that are used, that you now interact with when you go to ChatGPT, are data that are got from public websites. millions or billions of public websites, Wikipedia, libraries, anything, any material or content that is unlicensed, the data that are collected, which is now the data that AI has been used to build the AI that you now use and that you refer to as ChatGPT today. So again, it now depends on what you are trying to achieve, and then what data do you need to achieve that end goal, and then you can really decide, how much of it or where you want to go and get the data. But I believe that I've given you some examples of the kind of data that you need and how you can source them. You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much. Nice presentation. I have two questions. The first question is about when you talked about Wema Bank, that when during the cash crunch, when there were lots of traffic going to the bank, but I want to know, was the bank that the cloud platform, they didn't go down throughout that period, whether it worked seamlessly, there was no breaks? That's one. Then my second question is, you talked about serverless. I know there's what we call serverless pool and dedicated pool. So I want to know, yes, serverless, you pay for just what you use, but are there scenarios where we could use the dedicated pool? Is advised to use dedicated pool instead of using the serverless pool?
Of course. Thank you for your questions. I mean, I'm not an employee of Wema Bank, right? So, I must be, mindful of how much, that I do. Because, the platform is supported by Microsoft, is why, I can, talk about it. So, to your question, no, there was no downtime at all, whether during the initial situation where they had so many transactions, in their account, or even during the period where every other bank was as a result of the CBN directive. So I guess that already answers your question. To the second part, which is, are there times when you can use dedicated pool? Of course, if you want control, like if you, by virtue of the project, and you want to really be in control of managing the infra, which is not often the case, in most places, in my own experience, then you can use dedicated pool. Otherwise, you want to just focus on what matters to you. You don't want to worry about, spinning up this, configuration of that. Serverless really is the preferred option. All right. Any other question?
So my question is, for me, who's a startup founder, I intend to create a product, to bring a product into the market that would look into fintech solutions. So let's say my product is, being a startup founder, and my company size is very, very small, and your presentation is specific. So I'll just ask, based on the Microsoft Azure, now, what does, is there any way I can actually plug into this, or is it only meant for big companies? So serverless and everything that has to do with the Azure. Although I was looking into it yesterday, but believe me, the complication is much. Maybe you can enlighten me better about it.
Okay, no, not a problem at all. Okay. I mean, our tagline at Microsoft is empowering everybody to do more, right? So everybody is not just big organizations alone. It's small, and there are millions of people who use Microsoft Azure today. If you go on azure.com and then you sign up, on azure.com, you get credits to build, on Azure, and then beyond that as well, there are several programs like there is the Africa Transformation Office. I mean, you can Google it. Microsoft Azure Africa Transformation Office. It's a unit within Microsoft, and what they do is to support people like yourself. Startups, educational outfits. And people basically non-for-profit as well. People basically doing a lot of stuff around innovation and what have you. And then, there are things like, additional, I talked about you going to Azure to get credits, but there are things like additional credits. And when I'm saying credit, I mean like, credits for you to build your platform on Azure. And there are several other things like that. So there are different areas that we support, and we support not only large enterprises, but equally smaller organizations and organizations that do not have so much muscle to invest a lot today in Microsoft. Does that answer your question? Okay. All right, I think we'll take just one more, and then we'll call it a day.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. So my question is, I want to ask, are there any downside or disadvantage of this serverless, that's the cloud services? Okay. Or why do most organizations like my organization use we have on why are most organizations
if you like control, right? You want to be responsible for building, all of those stuff, and there are people who that is the case. Like I mentioned earlier. Yes, that is one option. If you are in a heavily regulated, environment, if your regulator, for example, says that you need to have those servers on premises, right, then you have no choice but to do that. If your company policy, for what is worth, is that you have to have data centers locally in Nigeria, again, those are things that are moving. I mean, a lot of people had those policies a few years ago, but not anymore. But then again, those are examples of why people have those infra within their establishment. But then to now say whether there is a downside, the downside depends on what your own objectives are. I can think of several downsides to having, on-prem infrastructure, which, for example, storage space, security, it could be hazard, you don't have to worry about disaster recovery, and all of those. Those are some of the downsides, that you have with on-prem. I mean, downsides to cloud will probably be maybe data residency issues. Come again? For subscription, I mean that's not a downside, because I mean you have to you're buying servers, you're paying for the servers, right? You're even paying in bulk, but on cloud you're only paying for what you're using. So that actually is a plus, not even a downside. But I think you get the idea. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for your time, and see you at lunch.
Thank you very much. So we can move to the